gentlemen, there's no better way to get up in the morning than to get up with Garret. Garret is a third-generation success-credentialed real estate entrepreneur who's here to give you tips, tricks, and share stories of success. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Garret Bedron.
Dougie,
How are you?
You forgot my most important title.
What's the most important title?
I am a father.
Nice.
I am a father. And today I'm excited because today was the day 11 years ago that I became a dad, became a father, my most important entrepreneurial venture. And I want to start off the show by wishing my beautiful and smart and thoughtful daughter, Juliet Paige Bedron, a happy 11th birthday.
Nice.
And wishing her mother a happy 11th birthday also,
Awesome.
because it's really all her that brought her here. I played just a little role. But it's really exciting that my beautiful girl, Juliet, who is just growing up to be an incredible person. She's a leader. She is doing her best at sports and trying to be part of the team. And she has a huge worldview of helping others. And of course, she's a great sister and a great friend, and loves her puppies. And a big surprise, Dougie, we actually have a camera crew. We're going to go live to her school right now and wish her happy birthday. Right, we're going to interrupt class. She's in like a math test. Let's go. Can we go to the direct remote right now?
Oh, yeah, totally. Let me just press that button right there. Yeah, there you go.
It's not working? Wait. Technical difficulties?
Yeah, it crashed.
Sorry, Juliet. Sorry, Juliet. We're not able to go live at your school today, but later we will celebrate you live and always. And just your mother and I are just so proud of the young woman you're becoming. And Dougie's proud too.
Absolutely.
And if anybody wants to put in comments and wish Juliet a happy birthday, I know she'll watch this after school.
They're already coming in.
They're coming in, and maybe we can make the Guinness Book of World Records to get Juliet 10 comments on the show, a new world record. So let's try to get 10 comments today. Okay. So great to see you. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I told you I got some new Jordans, right?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think of these kicks, Dougie? Come on. What do you think?
Yeah, these are good.
Are those fresh?
These are good. I approve.
You approve?
I approve this
Undefeated
message.
Media approved?
Wow, those are nice.
We love the Jordan game.
Yeah, those are nice.
And Dougie wants me to keep them clean because I just told him he's getting my hand-me-downs.
I get the hand-me-downs. Nice.
I got Juliet on my socks,
Oh, nice. I have a sneaker problem.
You do. You know, a lot of people have a lot of other problems.
I think it's a good one.
I think sneakers are not the worst of them. That's a good problem to have. So, Dougie, wanted to just do a quick update for those that have been following kind of the family generational wealth project that's taken us 13 years and $13 million and 3 lawsuits. And my goodness,
3 lawsuits.
My good news, have we fallen on our face and picked ourselves back up? So just a little quick update with the Hedges. You have some new photos. I was there yesterday. Really, really gorgeous. There's some beautiful new brick that they've put on the exterior. Cue the brick photo.
Cueing the brick.
All right, cue the brick. There you go. So you can see we're starting the brick laying. It's interesting to kind of see the kind of midsection of the building. So you've got this, or I should say cross section. You've got this like Tyvek piece, right? First you had the wood, then they do this like yellow, which is like a weather barrier. It's called Tyvek pretty much. Then there's this like foam piece. That's the purple. And then you've got the brick, right? And of course the mortar and the brick. And we have the same brick that matches the self-storage building, which is in the project as well. So it was cool to be on site there and kind of really see them doing it piece by piece. You know, it is built brick by brick. And then there'll be hardy plank on top of that. So for those that have recently just picked up the show, we're building 118 luxury apartments here in North Jersey, in a town called Hawthorne. It's called the Hedges, and it's walking distance to the train. It's a very kind of aspirational, health and wellness oriented project. Also has self-storage. And you want to show some other photos from the there's kind of some walkouts. These are some of the balconies over the amenities section. When you walk in, do you have that curved picture I showed you? That's pretty cool. The slat wall, when you come in by the main entrance, there's like a little built-in seating area. And so we've got some cool slats that are in there off the elevator. And of course the project will have, I don't think I gave you a picture, but all the steel is now up for Planet Fitness.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. So we're excited. We actually have a huge wait list, Dougie.
Wow.
We have, drum roll, 500 people are on the wait list for our
Wow.
project.
How many units are there?
There's only 118.
Oh, gonna
So
fill up fast.
you better show up with a fresh pair of Jordans if you want. So we're so thankful and appreciative and grateful for the outpouring of support and interest in the project. Anytime you want to go to www.hedges, hedges@hawthorne.com. You can put your name, phone number, email. There's no deposit at this point. It's just information. Don't feel left out, because a lot of people that put their name on the list too early, probably will find their own apartment the next month or two. We won't be open until October. So we still encourage you to put your information, and we will get through that entire wait list to make sure that you have a chance to either get in the project or be next in line if a unit opens up.
Nice.
So we're excited. Also, some cool, sports things. It's a great time of year. Obviously, baseball has kind of kicked off. I don't know if you're a Yankee or Met fan, but
Tolerate them.
shout out to some of my friends from town who were very generous to invite me to opening day at the Yankees. Can we cue the Yankee picture, please? So there's the boys at the Yankee game. We went early, and I volunteered to drive. We went early. We had fun. We ate like pigs. Everybody had a good time, and we stayed the whole game. And if you know anything about me growing up, my dad always made me leave early, right? It's kind of like the Jewish goodbye. Let's just get out of here. Well, I went to the bathroom, and I missed it. The game went to extra innings, and I actually missed the hit that won the game.
Wow.
I mean, can you believe what an idiot?
Gotta hold it, bro.
I was there like 6-7 hours, and I missed the 1 second.
Gotta hold
it. So that's life. Also, NBA playoffs have started. They're doing something new. They started, I think, last season, where it's called the play-in game. So check it out. It used to be number 1 to 8 made the playoffs, right? And what would happen is you'd have some teams that would kind of tank or say, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm going to lose. I'm just going to give up and rest my players. So now what they said was 7, 8, 9, and 10 will go into a play-in tournament.
Nice.
Right? So you really shouldn't rest. Like if you're right there in the bubble, play your guys,
Yeah.
So basically 7 plays 8, which happened 2 nights ago. Brooklyn played Cleveland. Okay. So if now Brooklyn was 7, so by them winning, they become 7. Had they lost, which Cleveland lost, they get to play the winner of 9-10. Okay, which was last night.
Nice.
Cleveland.
So they had to play an extra game.
A second game, yeah. So like Charlotte got destroyed last night from Atlanta, which was embarrassing because Charlotte had a pretty explosive offense. Atlanta just decimated them. Most of the game they were up 25 to 30 points. And then in the West, I didn't get to see all the games in the West. I think the Pelicans beat San Antonio. But so anyway, that's kind of cool. So you have one more game, and then you'll have your 7th and 8th seed determined. So you think that's a neat way to do it?
I do appreciate that. The only person who's really getting screwed, if you will, is the 7th seed. The 8th seed's lucky to be in, but the 7th seed's like, in, and now they have to play
to get in. So they only have to win one game.
True.
If they lose,
but anything can happen one game.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a best of 3.
No,
anything can happen one game. Absolutely. We saw that in the March Madness.
Of course.
Anything can happen.
Yeah. So I mean, it gives the chance for a team like 9 and 10 to get hot.
True.
And they could get the 8th seed.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a cool. There's a shout out from my mom. Hey, Mom, good to see you. Thanks for watching. I think it's a cool way. And when I talk about NBA, I'm hoping that in a few months when things calm down, maybe after the Warriors win the championship, my good friend Brandon Schneider, who's the new president of the Warriors, Q Brandon.
You got it.
Maybe we can bring him on the show as a guest and talk a little bit about what's going on out in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I had a chance to visit with Brandon in New York last week. He was in town for the NBA meetings, and it was just great to catch up together and spend some time together with my good buddy. So
nice.
Hopefully we'll have him on. Any Warriors questions, throw them in there. Any predictions, throw them in. I'm sure I can get Steph Curry to answer your questions tomorrow. Okay. And then lastly, cue Elon Musk, please.
Elon Musk.
The big news of the day, if you've been watching, is Elon now wants to buy the Twitter. I jokingly call it the Twitter because it used to be called the Facebook when it first came out.
True.
And Justin Timberlake's character in that
drop him the
he goes, just call it Facebook. I mean, that was just so funny that was like a real moment, So about a week or two ago, we woke up and Elon had disclosed that he purchased, oh gosh, I don't know, 10%, 9%. I forget what the number was, percent, of Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just an amount below where it was what's called a passive investor, not an active investor.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these different, rules and regulations on disclosures. So then the question, and of course the value went way up. People said, oh, what's he going to do? Then a week later, he says, 2 days later, I'm going to join the board. They invite him to join the board. Right.
Yeah.
And Elon there's a lot of stuff out there about free speech with him and where he thinks Twitter goes. And he uses Twitter as like communication. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then a couple days later, they said, I'm not joining the board. Right. Now we wake up and he says, I'm going to offer, what does it say? 43 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That's with the B.
Yeah.
Okay. Not an M. We're playing in a different ballpark, folks.
Yeah.
This is unfathomable that he could just cut that check, by the way, if he wanted to. I think he's worth 600 billion or something.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? Is he kind of playing games? Is he trying to get kind of advertising, get people's attention maybe off of Tesla? I mean, this is a wild roller coaster.
Well, two things. One, it's smart because, owning a social media platform is a smart thing to do. It's also one that I think has kind of gotten a little stale, so it needs a little juice. But here's something that's interesting. Look at this, 43 billion for Twitter, right? Do you think Twitter's the best social media platform right now?
No, it's what, top 5?
Maybe top 5.
Yeah,
you would think Instagram's ahead of it, right?
Yeah,
Instagram was bought. Facebook bought Instagram 5 years ago for $1 billion.
That's it. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
Twitter's going for $43 billion.
That's a lot of cheddar.
Yeah.
as
whoever, Facebook stole Instagram.
By the way, I love when you make the comment, owning a social media platform is pretty cool. Can we come back to that in a few months? I can't really talk about that right now. Okay. But maybe we can talk about that again if you get my hint.
Yeah. That's a lot of foreshadowing right there.
But man, that's cool. I mean, look, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post, and that was kind of this controversy. Should somebody with a big position in a huge company own a free speech, own the media, right? Where does that go?
It's already happening.
So
it already happens.
With Elon Musk, I do agree with you. Twitter has gotten kind of stale, and it doesn't, I don't see this huge path to major revenue with Twitter right now. And I think Elon is, I think he's a combination of Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison. So, I'm all in with Elon. If he actually thinks he can make it better and make it revenue producing, I'd put money into that and back him, because I think he's got the goods. But sometimes he kind of dances with some of these things just for fun and just to rile people up and to move attention. So I'm really not sure what kind of which way he's going here. So we will keep an eye on that. I mean, this is a volatile, changing world. It's just, if you're not ready to accept the fact that you're going to have uncertainty and change, then forget it. Go live in a cave, because the world is different now. Things are moving quick, and you've got to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry, you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, or else you're going to get left behind. So, Doug, unless you have anything else to add on that, I would love to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cue the green room. We've got the caviar going and the green M&Ms. I'd like to introduce everyone to a friend of the family, someone that we've done business with before, Miss Ann Hambly from First Service Solutions from Dallas, Texas. Ann, can you hear me this morning?
I can. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for joining.
Good morning.
The Get Up with Garret show. I know you have your own podcast, so it was in high demand to get you off the microphone today. I've been enjoying your show over the past few weeks. I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit about First Service Solutions. From what I understand, it's a company that helps borrowers, owners of commercial real estate, work out challenges with lenders and servicers. But for the audience who's kind of up and coming entrepreneurs thinking about getting into real estate, they probably never even heard of what a servicer is, to be honest with you. So can you just kind of give us a little bit of an overview of the company and kind of, what's your bread and butter? What's your role with the company?
Yeah, but before I do, I have to make a very, very important announcement, I think, right? I have to wish Juliet a very happy birthday. I hope one day, Juliet, you are the CEO of your own company too. So
Incredible. Oh boy, she
Yeah.
will be. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be a Dogtopia franchise or Board and Brush but for sure I'll be building something that kid takes over, and she'll be
Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
my ass out very fast, just like I push her
Well,
grandfather. All right. So go
yeah.
ahead. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you summarized what I do very well, but for Service Solutions, let me just tell you a little bit about, I think, it's commercial real estate. If you're an owner and you own commercial real estate, when you go in and you get your loan, because most people get a loan, obviously, to buy their real estate, you get a loan usually from your friendly banker, almost always, and then your banker either keeps that loan or sells it. And if they keep it, you don't need someone like me necessarily, because Garrett, could walk in and talk to your banker and get almost anything you need done. If you want to,
It's a relationship, right?
yeah, it's a relationship.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. Off book lending, and I deal mostly with securitized lending, which is Wall Street lending. What happens is you don't have that banker. So you go in and you talk to who you make your payments to, and that is not the person who makes the decisions. And in fact, they're prohibited generally from making changes to your loan. So when it's a securitized loan, and you don't even know that as an owner, but when it is, you find it to be very, very frustrating. I've often talked about how it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. So you find the yellow brick road, you find your way, you get to the end of the road, and then there's someone behind a curtain that is making the decision for you, and you can't see them, you can't talk to them. And so what First Service Solutions does is we demystify that securitized loan, because I've been that wizard behind the curtain. I know what is done, what decisions are made, what can and can't be done. And contrary to popular belief, almost anything can be done, almost, not everything, but almost anything can be done if you know how to present it, what it's going to take, just like anything else. To get into your apartment building, you said you need to bring Nike shoes. Well, if you didn't know that and you just applied and you brought Adidas, right?
Forget it, you're out.
Right. Okay. Well, it's the same way with lending. And if you have a banker, again, good, you got that relationship. It's like talking to Dougie there, when you were talking to him. But if you've got a securitized loan, there is no one to talk to that is on your side that knows how to help you get things done. So that's what we do. Long answer, apologize, but that's what First Service Solutions does.
So let me back that up for the audience just a little bit, because I know Dougie's looking at me with a question. So the first thing Dougie's thinking is, all right, so I go and get a loan, let's say with Bank of America, right? A bank that everyone knows, right? Why are they selling that loan versus keeping the loan? Aren't banks in the business of making loans? And when you make loans, you get the interest every month. It's 5% or 3%. And why would you just sell the loan if you just made it? So explain that part. What's that all about?
Yeah, good question. Two primary reasons. Number one, a bank has a limit. Now it might be 50 billion, but they've got a limit as to what they can lend. I made 50 billion up because we were just talking about the 43 billion purchase, right?
Yeah.
They've got a limit. Once they've loaned that money out, that's it. They're done. So the reason until a loan, matures or something,
right? That's like a legal limit. Like that's part of their charter. Yeah. That's part of the governance of the country. Okay.
Yeah, and it's generally based on their deposits. But the point is, there is a finite number they can lend. If they lend and they sell it off, okay, they have an unlimited amount of, they can loan as much as they can. Right. So that's biggest reason. Second reason, which I think is not something they would admit, but I do believe it's there. When I and I did work for B of A, I ran their servicing group, but I'm at B of A, I make your loan. And
I didn't know that. I just threw that out there.
Yeah. That was like 100 years ago, so you wouldn't have known that. You probably weren't 11 then. So yeah. But you make your loan, and something happens in the world. COVID hits. You have to your property's not performing anymore. Well, if I have it on the books at B of A or any bank, and there's a loss, I take the loss, right?
Sure.
If I've sold the loan, I've made money on the origination and the sale, and I don't take any losses going forward. So it's a money-making machine on the front end with no long-term liability and endless amounts of lending.
So what kind of money are they making? Take me through that. Like if it's a $10 million loan, could they get a 1 point origination fee and then some type of fee for selling it as well?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And there's no
So-
long-term liability. So
Right,
you
it's all-
described it very perfectly.
They're
Yeah.
moving, so they're pushing the paper and the responsibility long term to
Yeah.
who? This is some
Yeah.
group of investors behind the Wizard of Oz curtain.
That's right.
I wish I had a picture. I think my sister was in Oz or something one time growing up, but I forgot that picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're moving it to a group of investors. Go ahead.
Guess what
Dougie.
they're
So
oh sorry, yeah.
real quick, because I think this fits perfectly here. So once the loan is moved, the consumer, the person who got the loan, are they still paying Bank of America when they're like? Do they
Yeah.
realize this has happened?
Yeah, they'll get a letter, right? Go ahead.
Well, no. Great question. You hit the nail on the head, really. And I don't know if you go by Dougie or Doug. For everyone else,
He goes by "Hey you."
Whatever you like.
He's
my
got
husband's
hand-me-down
name is
Jordan.
name is Doug, actually. So
Nice. What do you call him?
Yeah. Oh, I can't tell you that.
Dougie, this is a family show, please.
Yeah, exactly. Juliet might be listening sometime. So,
all right, keep going.
God, I so apologize. I almost forgot the question. But
No,
so you're the customer,
Right.
Yeah.
You've gotten the loan.
Oh yeah,
you're
right.
paying Bank
Sorry.
of America. Bank
You
of
s-
America has now sold the loan.
Yeah,
Right.
what
The
happens?
customer does the customer
who
even
does Dougie
realize,
pay?
or are
Right.
they still
No.
paying Bank of America?
90% of the time, the customer doesn't know that. And
Interesting.
so you're still paying B of A. And so something happens on your loan, COVID hits, you call your B of A contact and you say, look, here's what's going on. I need some relief. And they say, geez, I can't give it to you. Sorry. You go, yeah, but I mean, COVID hit, everybody's getting it, right? Well,
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm going to have to transfer your loan now and you get transferred to another party that you've never heard of and la, la, la. Yeah. But behind the scenes, the real decision maker is, and I think this is the best way to describe it. If you've ever watched The Wolf of Wall Street, The Big Short, any of those
Yep.
movies, it describes it unfortunately very perfectly. Behind the scenes, your loan is sold not to, one party, but to a series of bondholders. AAA could be your loan is split into a million pieces and sold, and your AAA investor could be, a retirement plan from California. The lowest rated bondholder is who makes the decision because they'll take the loss if there's a loss. And you will
Okay,
never know who all those parties are.
All right, so Doug, let me
Yes.
back that up. So let's say there's a $10 million loan, right?
Okay.
It may be cut into 10 slices of $1 million each.
Wow.
Each slice could be rated, right?
Mhm.
AAA, that's the best steak. That's the top piece, right?
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
lowest piece could be the worst, right? Because that's the one that will get lost first, right?
Mhm.
If someone can't pay their fee,
Yeah.
pay their payment. So that group usually has the first decision of making an amendment or a change because they're the ones that take the first loss.
Gotcha.
Right.
Now, you don't see any of this. You don't know any of this.
Yeah.
You're just paying your coupon. Look, as long as you're paying on time, you don't have to worry about any of this garbage, by the
Okay.
way.
100% right.
As long as this is a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I don't want this to deter anyone from investing in real estate. This is not, it sounds cumbersome, but most cases, if everything is fine, don't even worry about this. You get a statement in the mail, you pay your statement, nobody bothers you.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
the city puts a median down the middle of your road.
Oh gosh.
Right.
Please
And it
don't remind me.
affects there's so many times you're 100% right you're 90% right. And let me give you the
That's good enough.
variance.
My wife
Well,
never
let
said
me-
that, so I'll take it.
Let me tell you the 10% that's not
Go ahead.
correct. So if nothing ever changes on your loan, you got a 10-year loan, nothing ever changes, everything goes as planned, you never ever need anything.
Right.
Like the new tenant is
Right.
occupying the same amount of space, rental rates are the same, everything's
No
the same.
changes. Right. No
You're
material.
right that you will never know the difference. It will not feel any different than any other kind of loan. The minute anything doesn't go as planned during that 10-year loan, anything, even if you didn't cause it, again, COVID was the biggest
Of course.
thing that caused everyone to say, oh my goodness, there is a difference in CMBS loans. But you're right. It's not meant to scare anybody. In fact, this is what is required to keep our commercial real estate business a viable business. Because if you had all these banks who couldn't sell off your loans, there'd be a point in time where
Right.
you can't get any more new loans, right? So
So
you
this
have to
structure
have
really
this.
helps put more capital into the
Yeah.
marketplace
Yeah.
because you've got local banks, you've got life insurance companies. This fills a void that keeps liquid and keeps things moving. Doug, you had one or two
I got two
questions
quick
because
ones.
I don't want to jump in. Ann's getting ahead of herself. I don't want to talk about Killian Hill yet. We're gonna get there. We're gonna actually
No.
we're gonna do a deep dive, and you better grab a Pepsi because this one's gonna hurt. I hope my father's not watching because he does not want to relive this one. But go ahead, Doug.
Two quick ones on this subject. One, you said your loan is
Yeah.
broken into slices,
Exactly.
pieces. So when that loan is being paid off to the slices, it's not you get $1, 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 you get $1. It's not like when it's paid back, the people who own the slices don't get paid at the same time equally.
Well, Ann,
Well,
you want to take that?
Yeah. Let me answer it in a simple way. What you guys are touching on are there's a lot about CMBS that can seem really complicated, but it's really not. But you make a loan, and let's call it your $10 million loan that you said. When it gets sold off, actually it's pooled together with hundreds of other loans, and they all become a drop of water in a bucket. And I use that analogy because a lot of borrowers think later, let me pull my drop of water back out of that bucket. Well, you can't. It's mixed together. It's all one bucket of water at this point. So, Doug, you hit on absolutely what happens. There is a priority of who gets paid first, and it's AAA down to AA, blah, blah, blah. But you're never looking at one loan going to different tranches of bonds. That's what they call it. It's a bucket of water. So
your individual loan's not being split. It's a bunch of loans in a bucket that are being, all right, this guy's definitely going to pay back. He's a doctor. This guy,
There you go.
Right. All right. Now part B of the question. So can you go to Bank of America and say, hey, I don't want the loan that gets sold off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
great question. And take that. That's an awesome question.
Yeah.
So you say, I don't want that. I
no.
want you to give me my money.
If I could tell you how many owners I hear every day tell me I will never do another CMBS loan, I don't know that I could. I know. I'm sure your dad's one of those. There are lots and lots of those people out there. So yes, you can go into your bank and say, look, I don't want a CMBS loan. That's what this is called, by the way, CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities. I don't want a CMBS loan. I want you to own my loan. Now, you might pay a little more for that. And there's a key point. And this is what happens. I'm going to use yours since today's Juliet's birthday. Let me use this analogy. I'll be your wife for a minute.
Loan for a horse. You're getting a loan for a horse.
No.
Pony.
When I had my first son,
yep,
I said to the nurse that moment, I said, I am never doing this again. And she said, oh, honey, everyone says that. And they come back a couple of years later. And I thought, well, I'm not. Right. And of course I did. And I kind of think of it that way. So CMBS seems so painful sometimes that you think I am never doing that again. But then when you get presented with 3 loan options, you got a $10 million property. And in one case, I'll give you $6 million and this interest rate. Another example, I'll give you $8 million. It's non-recourse. And you might go, well, okay, I could do it again. Right. And so it really all boils down to the terms, I think, that make people decide on this. Yeah.
I think, and that's a great segue because I think we need to really explain that to the audience. Everybody focuses, and we're guilty of this in my company, on rate. I think that's the number that everyone kind of talks about when it comes to loans. What's your rate? What's your rate? What's your rate? Rates are up, rates are down. Where's the rate? How are rates? And that would be a huge mistake if you only focused on that because the terms and conditions of the deal are so critical. For example, Dougie, how do you sleep at night knowing that your house is on the hook? That you're on the hook?
I probably wouldn't sleep that
Not so good. What if I said to you, you could go to sleep and know that the only loss you would take, God forbid, if there was a problem, was you would lose the money you put in. You'd lose the property. But they wouldn't come after you personally. Would you sleep better?
Well, I wouldn't have a home to sleep in, but sure.
But you could come over my house or something.
Thanks.
Okay. And then I think so you have to understand what is it that you're trying to get out of doing a commercial loan, right? The CMBS market provides what's called non-recourse, meaning they can't come. Now, again, there's some caveats here when it comes to like fraud and certain environmental things I want to say. But for most cases, and And we'll talk about an example. Your grocery store closes, Publix, thank you very much. They give back the key. Mr. Bedrin, we're no longer going to be doing groceries here. Mr. Bedrin says, oh my God, what do we do now? How do we pay this big mortgage, right? Well, they can't come sue you and say, you screwed up. You owe us all that money back because it's a non-recourse loan. You could lose your investment, which obviously would be horrible and, makes me want to throw up thinking about it, but you're not going to lose your whole life, right? That's non-recourse. So there's some inherent value on that.
Yeah.
Also, loan to value, right? Some banks may say, I'm only allowed to keep 70% loan to value leverage. But CMBS may say, we'll go to 75. Or I think, Ann, in the kind of 05 to 10 vintage, people were going 80% all the time. They were getting interest only, right? They were getting great rates. And then the big one, Doug, drum roll, why we love commercial real estate is when you add value, what do? We want to refinance and take that money out and redeploy it tax-free, right? Well, CMBS is kind of the one group that is really the most liberal when it comes to giving you cash out proceeds. Other banks may say, nah, Doug, I know you did a great job, but I'm not going to let you take $2 million out. That's risky. That's risky. CMBS is more, now maybe things change and Ann can talk about every day the market changes. But just in general, in my experience professionally, you've been able to cash out more with CMBS. So if your investors have this tremendous trapped equity for value that you've created and you want to redeploy it, CMBS may be the avenue that gives you the best chance to do it. But it is pulling teeth, pulling hair to get the loan done. It's expensive. It's onerous. It's challenging. And if something goes wrong, you have to hire a professional like Ann to get in there and, and fight those folks for you, because that's what it takes. It's not easy. And we'll talk about it. Go ahead, Dougie.
So let me see if I'm getting this, if I understand this. So this seems like there's pros and cons.
Like everything.
Okay, like everything in life. So if I'm a solo person, this is not something I want to do for a house, because when COVID hits, I can't go to Bank of America and say, give me some time to pay this back. Like, can we work something out? No, sorry.
Yeah, there's no warm, fuzzy, local
help,
community person that cares about your town. No.
So that would be the con for that little guy. But for the big guy, like you said, the place with Publix, and Publix said, we're no longer here, whatever. There's no recourse now. So the only thing you lose is the investment of the shopping center that you purchased, and you're not getting like a bad credit score and like or what, I don't know if it's an organization credit score, but like there's no negative recourse. You just lose that investment property.
You hand them back the keys, and you think,
sorry, it didn't work out.
You figure out how to run a shopping center without Publix. And
am I grasping it? Is that kind of like what's going on?
Absolutely,
100%. That's that great recap, you guys. Yeah. Now you're CMBS experts.
Nice.
Yeah. And look, there's
contact me if you would like a CMBS.
Yeah. And, CMBS was talked about a lot with that movie, The Big Short, and kind of the Great Recession and other versions, MBS, these other things. Really, with the housing crisis, they were mismarking. I think the big issue there was the bonds were being kind of put out there as, oh, this is the best AAA. And they really weren't, because people were borrowing way more than they could afford, and the market was so hot, and then it didn't stay that hot. But typically, when we look to buy a shopping center or apartment, we'll hire a mortgage broker who will go out and test the market, and you're going to get some different variations. You may get a life insurance company that will give you 65%, loan to value, and the rate may be really, really low, but you may not have enough money on the equity side to do that deal. You may have to go to CMBS because they'll give you 80. So that's why I said you've got to read through those terms and conditions, those term sheets, or letters of intent or interest, whatever it may be. And you want to, like anything in life, right? You don't want to just pick you don't want to just marry the first girl that kisses you, Dougie, right? You want to shop around a little bit, right? You want to put each other against, you want to kind of negotiate a little bit and see what the market can bear. But I think it would be good to talk a little bit about a real deal. And since this is our family deal, I can disclose, what we need. There's nothing here of client privilege secrets or anything. But if you want to bring up bedroom.com, anyone at home can go look at this. This is a real shopping center, by the way. We still own it. It's called Killian Hill Shopping Center. There it is. Just go to www.bedroom.com and you go to properties, go to Killian Hill. So this is outside of Atlanta, an area called Snellville and Lilburn, Georgia. And when we bought this center, I don't know, 2005 or 6, it had a brand new Publix grocery store. and it was beautiful. Let me tell you, that was a nice head of lettuce they had in there at Publix. It was fancy. And and at Publix, they even like to take the little grocery carts for you. They push it and they say, no tip.
Nice.
Don't tip me. I pay my
Mm.
employees enough. You don't have to tip my people. And
Mm.
they bring it in and fill your cart up. And if you walked in and you said, where could I find Tide detergent? They didn't say aisle 4, and they walked you to aisle 4, right? And they made you feel great. Well, unfortunately, the great people of Snellville and Lilburn didn't really care about that. They were happy to spend their money at Kroger and Walmart and other places in the area, and they didn't want to pay a little bit more money to be walked to their Tide detergent or their groceries walked to their car. So we got a call, and when I knew who was calling, I knew exactly where it was coming because we saw the sales, and they said, "Look, guys, I'm sorry, but we're going to close the store." And this was just devastating. I should back up one step. One of the challenges with the property, and Ann alluded to it earlier, and I doubt you'll be able to see it in any of the pictures, Doug, but they actually, the Georgia Department of Transportation put a median down the road. And so we lost one of our kind of left turn entrances, right?
Yeah.
So, you have access, you've got multiple entrances, left, right, in, out, and one of those we lost. And that became the final. I mean, it was at some point, I think it was a feat of what is it? A feat of complete or something?
That's one of the biggest complaints in New Jersey. Everyone says, yeah, you can't make left turns.
Right. Hey, watch out. The crazy
you
left
can't
turn.
make left turns.
So when that happened, I think that was the final nail in the coffin. And, think about, Doug, what happens. This little center, the traffic is built on, the strength of the subway, the strength of the little shoe store, party goods store, nail salon, Chinese restaurant, whatever. That community operator, that tenant, that entrepreneur, they're trading and they're paying me rent based on the traffic of Publix, right? Publix spends millions of dollars in advertising and brand development and bringing people in. So now you lose the Publix. That's like sucking wind, like you wouldn't believe, for these other tenants.
Yeah.
So quickly what happens here is all the tenants go to some type of rent reduction, either whether they have it in their lease pre-negotiated or it's just going to happen. I mean, it's just realistic, right? And you try your best to kind of keep it together, right? And some tenants say, look, Garret, we'll give you 6 months, we'll give you a year. Can you bring in Walmart? Can you bring in someone else, right? So this was a BFD, if you know what I mean. And we actually got very close with Walmart, the neighborhood market concept. And I believe, Ann, had we got the road median open earlier, we would have got Walmart. They later told me that they really did like the site and that we were very close. So typical Jerry Bedrin, who doesn't take no for an answer, he called up Georgia Department of Transportation and said, guys, look what you just did to me. Right? You closed this median. Now we lost our anchor. Is that what you were trying to do to this brand new shopping center in a growth generated area? All different types of diversity here, right? And they said, man, oh gosh, I can't believe that happened. They said, if you guys come up with a plan, maybe we'll let you make a small opening right in one little spot, but you got to pay for it and you got to come up with it. So we went to the engineers, the architects. We said, how do we do this? And we spent a lot of money and we designed it. And you know what? Against all odds, and I'm really surprised that my dad pulled this off. I didn't think this could be done. And this goes to kind of the entrepreneurial spirit of never giving up. We got it done. And it costs like $400,000, and we got a little opening. And we got
like a jug handle?
Just a little left turn opening. Yeah, I don't know, little opening. And when that happened, that put us back in the game to start talking to new tenants. Okay. So we engaged with Ann's company, with First Service Solutions, and we said, all right, we got a problem here. We obviously can't pay this mortgage. This is not our fault. We didn't cause this. We didn't do this. This is just ridiculous. You want to take this, equity, you want to take the keys back. God bless you. We're not going to pay this thing. And I say that, I don't want to be cavalier about that. I want people to understand what goes into that type of decision. But when you buy these properties for investment purposes, it's different than your home. You're not sleeping in there. You're not emotionally attached. It's really the numbers, right? If we were to put another $1 million into the project or $500,000, would it close like that? That is just throwing good money in a bad investment where we could earn 10, 15, 20% somewhere else. So we went out to the market and we started thinking, how are we going to solve the problem? And Ann, I don't, it's been a while, so I don't really remember kind of the timing of everything. But if you want to jump in and talk about, I know we were able to do what's called a DPO strategy here. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I don't remember the dates or the specific
It's
details,
not,
but
yeah.
I definitely remember working on this, and it's not an uncommon type situation. That exact specific of the median is, but think of today in office buildings or anything. You got a lot of retail. I mean, is if
Sure.
you're not grocery anchored, there's a lot going on where tenants are leaving, and bottom line, when you have a CMBS loan, you sometimes think as an owner, I've got two options. I can either pay the debt as structured, we all know that, or I can hand back the keys, like you said. And what I try to help people understand is there's a lot in between those two things, right? There are a lot of options. And I think I remember, I say this to every borrower, so I assume I said this to your dad at the time. What if I could get you the property for, 50 cents on the dollar? What if you could go buy it at a discount? Would you have an interest then? And I think everybody that is intent on handing the keys
Years go
back
up,
says,
right?
yeah, of course I would do that, right? I mean, I'd have to hear the number, but of course I'd be interested there. And so what I do then is I go into the servicer and basically argue for, look, you worded it earlier in the call. Do you want to own this property with an empty center, shopping,
Right.
retail
Right.
center? You want to do it? Or you want to go ahead, because that's going to cost you whatever it is, right?
Millions,
You
sure.
servicer millions. Or do you want to work with this owner and let him, settle this debt for a reasonable amount? And that's where we wound up, what we wound up doing there. And that is called
I
the
think the
discounted
numbers,
payoff.
yeah, I think just round numbers, I think we paid like 18.2 for this property and the mortgage was like 14,150. So call it 14.2. So you're right there when you say 50%.
Yeah.
I think you got us a deal somewhere in the 7 to 8
I think,
range,
yeah, I agree.
right?
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I
Because
don't
what we
remember.
factored in was the cost of re-tenanting, of putting that little
Median.
turn in the
Right.
median. There was going to be an extensive amount of capital that had to be spent no matter what to get that to be a performing deal again. And I
Absolutely.
believe, if I remember, I'm vague here, but
Yep.
I don't think Burlington paid what Publix was paying. So you also had possibly a
Big
less,
reduction in
rent
rent.
reduction that we had to apply. So yeah, but this is not an uncommon situation. I have a lot of people calling me today saying, literally to now, saying I have
Sure.
a office building and my tenant just announced that
Right.
they're probably not going to renew, right? Or need less space. And it's the same kind of situation. And so they're saying, I think I want to hand it back. And I always say, what if there were now you might want to hand it back. That's an option.
Yeah,
But let's
absolutely.
at least explore all the others to see
Well, we
if they
felt,
make
I mean,
economic
look,
sense.
we have 2 properties in this market and we felt this was a growing area.
Yeah.
Demographics, there was lots of new construction near us. It was, I mean, the area was not going the wrong way.
Yeah. Right.
It's not like, oh, some horrible thing got built right behind you
Yeah.
that's the worst place to be. It wasn't that. It was just kind of the
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
the
To weather the
expansion.
storm.
Yeah, it just didn't do the numbers based on kind of where they thought it would be, and it was a big rent too. I
Mhm.
mean, brand new. It was a very, very high rent. So,
Yeah.
so, um, so when you're doing something like that, what do you need from the owner? How can we be helpful in that situation to give you the tools to get this across the finish line? I assume you have to be very transparent and have to really open up your books
Mhm.
and come to the table with either some money if you're going to be buying it or renegotiating. Talk a little bit about the role that the owner would play in that and kind of your special sauce. What is it that's the magic that's
Yeah.
happening?
Well, this is where CMBS is very, very, very different from bank loans. So when you go to your banker and you know them, you could say things like, look, I built the center a long time ago. I invest in this area. I mean, you have emotional, I agree with you. It's commercial, not, you don't live in the home, but sometimes there's attachments to it. You want to keep it for other reasons. And you can sometimes get that banker to say, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, let's work together on this. In CMBS, it's numbers, dollars and cents. And it really all boils down to what can the servicer or CMBS, the lender, if you will, do on their own? If you handed the keys back, what could they do? What would they have to spend? What could they sell the property for? And ultimately, all of that gets factored in, net present valued back to today. And as long as you, as an owner, offer them more than that, they're generally incentivized to go with you, because the people making the decision are doing it on behalf of a bunch of bondholders, and they don't want to be liable to those bondholders for saying, yeah, Jerry, or Garrett, we'll work with you. We agree, no big deal, right? So it's all literally dollars and cents. So really what I do is replicate the calculations that the servicer is doing to the best that I can, and factoring in future of the property, future of the market as best as anyone can, what it would cost to re-tenant, and sort of coming back to a present value number. And then the way to make a deal with the servicer is offer more than that. It's just that simple, really, right?
Really?
So what an owner can do, number one, is understand that. I have some owners who, pre-COVID, owners would come to me, and let me see how to word this right. After people went through this with COVID and they understood really what happens, I now have people coming to me that understand how it works and understand the dynamics and know that it's all a matter of dollars and cents. You could yell at me 100 times a day. You could tell me to call them and tell them X. You could do all those things, but that's not going to get a deal done, right? It's really dollars and cents. So what it takes to get a deal done is an owner that understands the property, what the future might look like as best as anyone can, what the cost is, and understands that CMBS does not work like a bank loan. It doesn't help to try to shove a round peg in a square hole. It just doesn't, right? Or square peg in a round hole. But anyway, however that works.
Yeah.
So the secret sauce is really knowing, like any negotiation that you do in life. Let's say I wanted to buy your home. I called you the day after this and I said, I want to buy your home. Well, maybe you don't want to sell your home. So you would say, well, thank you, but I'm not interested, right? So I'm not going to, and I could push and push, but if you're not interested in selling, you're not going to sell. And the point is, whenever you're negotiating for something you want, you have to understand the other side's motivations. What do they want? Right. Are you meeting their needs? Right? What are they looking for? And that's what I bring. Is I spent 40 years of my career in those servicing shops, and I know how they make their decisions. They're not bad people. They're doing their job. They have a job to do, and you have to meet their objectives. So
it's so interesting. So for everyone watching, I want you to really listen up, especially my friend Connor at home. You got to put your cards on the table, right? You got to be transparent, and you've got to understand what the other side is thinking and how to make their life easier, right? That's the secret to negotiation. You got to be an incredible listener. Always listen. Like my Uncle Paul says, listen till your ears hurt. And Ann is someone that can help you with that by thinking like the other side and laying out the numbers and saying, you know what, rents are going to be at X, Y, and Z for the next 10 years. Here's the cost of re-tenanting the building. If you bring in a new tenant, it's going to take you a year. It's going to cost you $3 million. Now we're going to value the building. By the way, that's going to net you $5 million. These guys are going to pay you $7 million. Mr. Servicer, this sounds like a hell of a deal. How does that sound? So that's what you're doing in this negotiation. And of course, in many negotiations you're working on, you're trying to really get into the data, take emotion out of it. I find people get too tied up with emotion, then they blow their lid. The person never wants to talk to them again. And that's a quick way to kind of lose your relationship and lose your leverage. So this deal worked out great for us. I mean, in the end, Burlington, because of the road opening, we were able to get Burlington. And Dougie, I thought I had this thing on. You taught me that special button, the millennials use. What's it called? And now it's ringing.
Oh, you didn't do not disturb. You didn't turn that on.
I did focus. I think I hit for 1 hour. We must have.
Maybe that's your friend Connor that you were just talking about. Yeah. Maybe he's calling.
That's actually the broker calling me for this.
Hey, we need to renegotiate my rent.
No. He's on my side. So in this deal, we ended up getting the Burlington lease, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, Jerry and I were at a trade show. Burlington passed on the site many times. We were at a trade show, the ICSC in like Atlantic City or something like that, or Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. We met with them. We're like, guys, we got the road open. This is where you need to be. And they said yes, and they did the deal. We then convinced Publix to pay us $1. I'm not going to disclose publicly, but a big number with a lot of zeros to get off their lease. Because in this situation, they had a long lease. Like, we had a lot of leverage with Publix. This was very rare that they closed that early. It wasn't like 1 or 2 years left in the lease. It was a lot of years.
How come they didn't just leave? So you wait, Publix, they
No, they
left and
did.
they gave you money because they ended their lease early.
So
But
they're
how come
allowed
they-
to close, but just by closing doesn't mean they can't. Like they had a 20-year lease
Yeah.
and they closed after, let's say, 3 years.
Yeah.
They still owe us all the money for the 17 years.
What's
but-
preventing them from just bouncing and leaving? I'm sure that happens
No,
all
they
the
did
time in
leave.
real estate.
They
No,
did.
but not paying you. is what
Oh,
I'm
because
saying.
it's guaranteed by the company. That's
Gotcha.
a real lease.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we would sue them and they would, we would win.
Gotcha.
That's an
Gotcha.
easy one.
Gotcha.
It's not like it's just John Smith who only has $10 to his name. You're not going to
Gotcha.
sue him. Publix, you're gonna go all the way with. You're gonna spend anything you can. So Publix, we did a termination agreement. So this is like I guess it's like a tripod, Dougie. You got the, you got to get the Publix to give you the money. Then you got to get Burlington to say yes. Then you got to get the road done. Then Ann's got to come in and renegotiate the loan.
Yeah.
And so we ended up buying this loan, $7 or $8 million. Well, I didn't have, and the family didn't have $7 or $8 million.
Mhm.
We actually found a lender to put up the money, right? And we cut a deal with them where they got a certain interest rate, call it 5%, and then they got like some upside when we sold it again,
Mhm.
right? They played in the upside. It was whatever. And that worked out well because we got Dollar Tree in there, Burlington, of course, and then it started getting better, right? So now we refinanced that loan. So now we do own it in regular, normal fashion.
Mhm.
No outside partners, no lender partners. We have just a regular loan on it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, when we bought it, the loan was 14 something, 14.1, 14.2. Now the loan's like, I don't know, 8, 9, somewhere in there. I forget, 10 at the most. I don't remember. So it ended up being a good situation. Now, obviously, always consult with your tax folks and your legal folks. You may have some taxes associated with debt relief and things like that. I'm not going to give any tax advice. But it ended up working out well that we didn't give up and we powered through and we still own it and it's getting better.
Nice.
The rents go up. And there's another option you can do too. And some people do the what they call it, the AB modification structure. Can you explain that real quick as well?
Yeah, sure. That's where, okay, take let's say I don't know, let's do a $10 million loan just for the sake of my ability to do the math in my head. And your property value today is 8, call it,
Yep.
right? And it's going to take $1 million to get to stabilization on the property. What you would do is, in this case, with your $10 million loan, is you would split the loan into 2 pieces, an A and a B. The A would be equal to the value, so it'd be 8 million. The
Okay.
2 would be set in a hope note or a B note, and you as owner contribute $1 million to the equation to make that work. And so the way that works, then you've got an $8 million loan you're paying on, you got $1 million in reserves that you can use to stabilize the property, and the $2 million sitting out there in a hope note. You finish, it's kind of like the lender you said you got on
Sure, right.
execute on the DPO. Now I get to the maturity date of the loan, and the $8 million gets paid off first. Of course, you get your $1 million back that you invested as an owner, which is good. And then you split things generally 50-50, 50% to you, 50% to pay down that B note. If it's paid down all the way, you get all the money after that. If it's not paid down all the way, it gets forgiven at that point.
And that's still non-recourse. So even if we only pay down half the B note, they don't come after you personally.
No, right. Still non-recourse.
That's cool. That's a cool structure.
It's a way to, what it's useful for is if you have a property that is otherwise good location, will perform, you have a big tenant leave, usually those are the best ones, and you got a bunch of TILCs you have to, tenant improvement leasing commissions you have to put in to get a new tenant. And so temporarily your value is depressed, but it will likely come back. That's what it's for.
Okay. Got it. And you've got to have some capital. And I would think if the servicer looks at you and says, hey, if you can come up with $1 million to contribute here for future tenant improvements or commissions, you're a stabilized person, you know what you're doing, you're sophisticated. I'll go along with the ride because you're putting new money in at risk. And my 8 million is ahead of that, right? So that's an interesting structure. So which one are you seeing more? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's other different ways, but like, what's the most? Can you rank them? What's the most likely structure most people would go with?
Oh, that's like asking you what the most common property type is to buy. That it depends on so many things. I will
Okay.
give you though, here's what I can do. And I think this is
Sure.
what you're asking. I always tell people, I'm really big in analogies because this is otherwise a complicated business. And so I think
Sure.
you have to make it simple. If I go into a restaurant, I've got at the header of my menu, generally chicken, pasta, beef, call it that, right? And then within that, you can get it a million different ways, cooked, blah,
Sure.
blah. So the main categories are payment modification. Let's stick with the $10 million loan. Let's say right now, COVID. Cash
Sure.
flow is an issue, but it will be better later. Okay.
Right. So your $100,000 payment, can we break that down to 50 now? Okay,
yeah, that's right.
A payment.
That's right. That's a payment modification, but the debt is not unsecured.
Sure.
It's fine. That's a payment modification. Where there's a debt, the debt is higher than the value of the loan.
Sure,
Okay.
you're underwater. Yeah.
You're underwater. That's where you have to do more creative things. Are you going to be underwater even in the next few years through maturity? Well, that's when you do discounted payoffs because it's not going to recover. If it's clear it's going to recover within the term of the loan, that's when you consider more of an A-B structure.
A-B, yeah.
Just those are the general high level. Yeah.
And how long does it take, ballpark, forget COVID, normal times, how long does it take from when you have your first engagement with a client and kind of look at the numbers? How long do you think it takes to get to a letter of intent where the servicer signs off and says, yeah, I can get this approved by the bondholders or whoever's the last vote? Assuming
the first step that has to happen, remember we talked about you got your loan with B of A. We're just picking on them. You went to B of A. B of A is your servicer. You make your payments there. So you go to B of A first and you send them a letter to say something like Publix just vacated and I'm not going to make my payments, right? So then the next default. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Way more about absolutely. And
I know way more about this than I want to.
You do. And there's specific things to say and not say in that imminent default. But that's right. You tell them, look, I'm going to default. I'm just giving you a heads up. So they then transfer your loan to the special servicer who you've likely never heard of before.
Oh, God.
And there's like 5 of them in the whole CMBS industry. I mean,
crazy,
5 really prominent ones. You're going to get transferred to one of them. So that could take 60 days right there.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then the special servicer has to order an appraisal because the first thing they have to decide is am I underwater permanently, temporarily? Is this got lots of equity? What am I dealing with? That takes about 90 days. So you're now about 6 months into this before you're going to have, So I'd say 6 months generally. Now, that's not what owners want to hear. And then they call me. They want an answer like right away. That's why
very different again with the local bank, Dougie. I mean, during COVID, we have great relationships with incredible community banks, Valley Bank here in New Jersey, and Bankwell in Connecticut. And these people were calling us right away. How can we help? What do you need? Like, and I mean, could you imagine that, Ann? Quite a difference, right? And you'll remember, Ann, we did not even call you during COVID because thankfully, knock on wood, we were very fortunate. We got through everything. And in some cases, we did need a little help temporarily for some things. And in most cases, we didn't. We have all different properties, obviously. So everyone really is case by case. But I don't want to scare everyone. When you do have a loan with a local lender, you could certainly get an answer before 6 months. You could perhaps get an answer in, a few weeks or a month.
Now, let me interject something though.
Yeah.
That's before I answered your question, which is how long before the servicer can sign. So you can feel pretty confident. What I do know though, just like you do for your area of expertise, I can in a consultation call get in 1 hour, get within about, 90% of where I think it's going to end up. I know when I look at these based on your maturity date, the pool you're in, the special service. Again, there's only about 5 of them. So I know what they do and don't do very well.
Gotcha.
I can give you what I think the outcome is going to be. It isn't always what people want to hear.
Sure.
But
I appreciate you being upfront though.
Yeah, but that's the best. It's kind of like, I always say the best way to look at, if I can, at my business is, I'm an intelligent person. You're an intelligent person. Could we go read the tax code and understand all the IRS current, how they handle things and do my own taxes? Yeah, I probably could. Or could I hire an accountant who does this full time done it for 30, 40 years, that knows the latest ruling, the latest thing you can add, right where you can
Right.
push things. Of course, you get a better outcome with the tax accountant. So
Of course.
owners, I have my biggest competitor is owners thinking they can do it themselves, and they can.
Sure.
I could
In
do
some
my
cases.
own taxes, but
Yeah.
if you wouldn't probably, still absolutely say you will not likely, unless you're just extremely lucky, won't get the best outcome, or you won't get the good outcome I can get, because I know on my taxes, same thing. I wouldn't know where to push things, where to. Hope the IRS
Right.
doesn't listen to this. I don't push anything,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And one or two more things, then we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
Is it true that most of these servicers you're dealing with probably don't look like you? I mean, is this still kind of a male-dominated
Mhm.
old boys club? I mean, I know there's only a few
Mhm.
companies that even are servicers. I
Yeah.
want to talk about that because, I
Yeah.
told you my cousin and I invested in Salons by JC, where we're helping women and minorities own their own business and be entrepreneurs and be incubators. And I kind of am on, this kick. Maybe it's partly because of Juliet and Harper. I want to make sure that
Mhm.
everybody has the opportunity to be in commercial real estate. And I've found when I've gone to conferences over the years, there's not a lot of women at all.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's kind of like depressing to see that. So
Yeah.
it's amazing to obviously get to know you a little bit and know that you
Mm.
own this company and you're helping so many families, help work out their real estate. But can you talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
and how we can help grow women in real estate
Yeah.
together?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that. Yeah, I'll tell you the two funny things in my life that happened early on in this industry. First of all, I have all brothers. I grew up with all boys. I have two sons. I guess I just naturally am very comfortable around guys. So I don't really think about it. But one of my very first MBA conferences, 40 years ago, I it was a break. I went to the bathroom, and of course, the line for the men's room is, out the building. And I just walked
Sure.
in, went to the bathroom.
Like
I
a
was
Broadway show.
washing my hands.
The other way.
And
Yeah.
a
The other way,
lady
yeah.
was standing there, and we became best friends. We are still really good friends. And she said, we might as well be friends because we're the only two women here, right? So then I
God.
was on the board of the Mortgage Bankers Association in early 90s. And I was sitting around the board meeting, and one of the guys said to me, how does it feel to be the only girl here? And I said, you know what? I hadn't really noticed, but it absolutely is very, 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 very much male dominated industry. It's very rare. There's very few women when I was growing up in the industry that would rise to senior levels. Now it's better, but it is still absolutely male dominated. And I have thoughts for how to succeed in that. If you want me to
Let's hear
share
it.
that, I think
Let's
the
do it.
key is to not focus on that. At the end of the day, you and I have probably the exact same objective when we get up in the morning, right? Make a living, do good in our, industry, wherever we are, help people. I don't know, whatever it is. It doesn't matter that I'm a woman and you're a man for what we're doing at work. And I think it's really important as a woman to especially not focus on, oh, I'm the only woman around here. And sometimes when you do that, you tend to puff up and
Sure.
make it seem like work harder and make your point, because otherwise you won't be known. I think if you just relax and do what you do, it might not be such a big deal. I think it'll all
Ass
even
and take
out.
names. Yeah.
What's that?
No, I say kick ass and take names. I mean,
Yeah.
look, when I get up in the morning, I'm just thankful for waking up.
Yeah, me
To
too.
me, I'm like,
Especially
hey,
now.
I won the lottery. I woke up again every day. I get to wake
Yeah.
up.
And does
Me.
everything move and work? Yeah. Okay. I can
Yeah,
get.
no, I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
your hips. I mean,
Yeah.
the minute you hit 40, folks, you definitely feel it. And I'm
Oh.
sure you're going to know about that in 20 years, Ann, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And okay, so what I want to do is go to our lightning round, Dougie.
I'm
If you want to
ready.
get your TikTok ready.
We're ready.
And we ask all the guests on the Get Up at Garret show a couple of fun questions. Don't take it overly too serious. If you get stumped, just throw out something funny.
Okay.
And the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Dougie, I don't hear any TikTok. There it
it's
is.
ticking.
Oh.
Okay. What's a business book that you can recommend to up and coming entrepreneur or someone in real estate?
8 8s. It's 8 ATES.
Gotcha. Lots of talk about Elon Musk today. who would you trust most to take you to outer space? Would it be Elon? Would it be Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic, or would it be Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin?
Branson. You know why? He's
Why?
done it longer. He's been around
Okay.
longer.
Yes. I don't know if you ever watched Ted Lasso, but what's your first concert and best concert?
First one was Huey Lewis in the News, which you probably don't know who they are.
Okay.
And best one was the Eagles.
Nice. I saw Huey Lewis on our honeymoon, actually.
Oh,
If I had to make you create a new Instagram handle for yourself for fun, or like a vanity plate on your car, throw out something funny that you
I
would
have
do.
one.
What is
Service.
it? iService?
Service.
Oh my God. I actually saw a Maybach today, which is like the fancy Mercedes, a Maybach, and it said service right in front of me today. I took a picture.
Yeah.
Right. And then, Ann, last question. What's a goal that you would want me to remind you of a year from now?
Not take things personal.
Nice. I like it. All right, Dougie, she did it. She
Nice.
survived the lightning round.
Nicely done.
Can we
Good.
put up some information, Doug? Either website, Instagram.
Here we got
we've
Twitter
got-
right here.
We have the Twitter.
Of the podcast,
We've been
yes.
talking about the Twitter all day. So, Ann, why don't you just tell us in 15, 20 seconds about your new podcast and what it is and what it's targeted at?
Sure. It's CRE Eyes Wide Open. The reason I called it Eyes Wide Open is because I'm trying to cover things that the average person in commercial real estate may not know is there. Some of the inside scoop, things like that. So it's once a week. We drop it on Wednesdays at 10, if that matters. I don't know. But anyway.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. And I've been enjoying it. And I actually shout out to our mutual friend, Barney McCauley, who our family has worked with, 20, 30 years now. He's sold us a property. He's helped do a lot of he's sold something for us. He's made a lot of money off us, and we've made money off him. So it's been a great relationship. And I know he was a guest on one of your shows. So
yeah, great guy.
I think it's great. You have your own podcast, big supporter of that. Happy to share that with our listeners. I hope our listeners will enjoy and follow your podcast as well as our podcast, right?
Absolutely.
And we try to go live every other Thursday. Like always, you can email the show, right? I believe the email address is getupwithgarrett@gmail.com. My mother gave me 2 R's and 1 T in Garrett, in case you're asking. And we appreciate you watching. You can always go over to YouTube and see the show later, where you give us a big thumbs up and subscribe, and maybe throw Juliet a little HBD on the number 11. We'll be seeing her later tonight. A little bit of Japanese cooking on the table.
Nice.
Right?
A little hibachi.
Hibachi. That's the big word of the day. And hope everyone has a great, healthy Passover, Easter. Enjoy themselves. Be safe and travel. And remember, the more you give, the more you get. We'll see you guys next time.